This is Barbas, just doing God's work.
Dante, get out of there! You're in danger!
Hello there, Sir from 17 once again. This is my DMC Dante Must Die Difficulty video walkthrough. This is mission 13, the Devil's Dalliance. I believe that's without the, but I said it anyway because I can't help it. This is a cool level. This is an interesting level. This is a series of different dance floors, different stroboscopic locations of, multitudes of colours. It's like a kaleidoscope of different aesthetics, and it's great. But there's also a lot of fights, and some of the fights are quite challenging. They've got witches, they've got all sorts of things. But there's nothing here that I think you're going to get all that stuck on. If I'm, I just don't think there is. I think you might die a few times before you get, the patterns down, before you get the rhythm of the battles. But after that, you should be fine. And then at the end of it, we get to fight Mundus' mistress that you saw him banging in a previous cutscene. Speaking of interesting fights, we've got a handful of Stygians, elite Stygians, and we have a Dream Runner. So the best thing to do here is to kill the Stygians and then focus on the runner. But sometimes he doesn't give you much choice. The cool thing is, though, if you evade him with the demon dodge, it gives you the buff, then you can use the buff to punish the enemies around him, which is going to definitely help you out. But this level, I don't know if it's influenced by Decker's Die from Saints Row the Third, because that was a very stylish level that did something that not a lot of games have done in the most recent era of gaming, and it was a nice throwback to older games, and it was a self-aware throwback, which is even better. But to me, I get a load of different vibes from this level. I definitely get a Tron vibe, obviously, because the colours and things. I definitely get a Res vibe, like Child of Eden style stuff, but I also get El Shaddai vibe from it, because I didn't like El Shaddai, but the one thing the game definitely had for it was swagger. It had a bunch of different art styles. A lot of them were self-indulgent and really arty and unnecessary, but they definitely made it interesting. And there's parts of this level that are very much like that, which I don't know if they will be influenced, but there's a large possibility that they were. And anybody wondering why I didn't like El Shaddai is it had one button combat. And I'm sorry guys, your combat better be fucking nuanced if you're going to give me one button combat. I just can't do that, it bores me. But yeah, another Dream Runner. There is an advanced version of this enemy. It wears a red mask. It's the guardian of the building that Mundus lives / works in. And I can't remember its name because it begins with a D. It's something silly. It's not quite, Devilmaycry 2 silly, because I pretty much sure half of those names are completely unpronounceable. As this guy's reflecting all my shit back at me. And he's devil triggered. And I believe this is the first time we've seen this enemy devil trigger. Not that it makes much difference, because the guy's a pain in the ass anyway. But this level, in my opinion, is more of a test of endurance than anything else, because a lot of the encounters, the checkpoints are quite wide between them, and there's a lot of engagements in between. So, for instance, this right here. If you can kill all the rage pups, this will probably be another semi-simple fight against 2 rages, which, depending on how well you fight them, shouldn't be too rough. But if any of these grow up, this suddenly gets a whole lot more interesting. And I've been thinking, as far as the score is concerned, would it be beneficial to let those things grow up so you've got more things to kill, to build combos, to build points off? And I think your score would definitely benefit, but I think the time would suffer. And I'm hoping that the leaderboards get some pretty compelling and cool scores, but I'm worried that it's going to be like Bayonetta, where somebody figures out how to do a stupid combo which you can just farm, and the leaderboards are filled with people with ridiculous numbers, like every slot's filled with a 9 because they did it for 2 hours, and I hate stuff like that. I like it when there's a sense of competition, and everybody on top of the game trying to beat each other. I hate it when there's something easily exploitable, or when they hack the leaderboards. Who the fuck hacks a leaderboard? I just don't understand that mentality that wants to have their name on the top but do none of the work. I don't get that. That to me seems very strange. This sequence here is a challenging fight. But I've got faith you can do it, because if I can do it, you can do it. So, immediately, this is going to be a pain in the ass, because you've got these things that are annoying to catch. The camera's annoying with them, the lock-on's worser. Or worse, sorry, because I don't think worser works in that context. I don't even think it's a word. And then you've got the witch being a bitch. Nice bit of wordplay there for you. So, the easy option here is to say go immediately for the witch. But the problem that you face there is the harpies do a spear move that's got some ridiculous range. It's like a demon spear off of Dark Souls. And they seem to be able to levitate off camera very close to you and still be able to attack. So they kind of break the passive rule. So I would actually recommend ignoring the witch and killing the harpies, and that works fantastically if you saw what just happened then. She killed it with her attack. Which, that's the type of stuff I love. And I wish more games did it, because it always reminds me of the original Turok, where the raptors would attack the soldiers. And, you know, for an N64 game, that was pretty damn impressive. And the most recent Turok we had on this generation of consoles was dire. Wow, talk about missing the point. That is a Michael Bay, Pearl Harbor missing the point mark right there. Because they just had no idea what Turok meant at all. And that is a game I would love to see, you know, get made, and get made by people who respect the series and know the series. Because the people that made that game, like, there is no way in hell they had any reverence for Acclaim, or for Iguana, should I say, who were the people that developed it. Or they'd have made a better game. Simple as. But right now we've got a flame or a hell rage. Like I say, guys, I do apologise that I don't know the names, but I haven't owned this game very long. It came out today. But all this guy really is proceed to spam Arbiter to do maximum damage, and you know, it's not difficult, it's probably not that entertaining to watch, but it's effective, and that's exactly what this guide is. This is not me showing you how to do 360, no scope, ladder stall, jump cancels. This is just beat up the demons, get to the end, get you that achievement or trophy, depending on the system you're on. And this Mundus's mistress is an interesting character, because she's very ambitiously modelled. And what I mean by this is I've never seen a game try to portray loose skin. And conceptually it's disturbing, because there's nothing worse than the thought of loose skin. Because it reminds me of Witches, if you ever saw that terrifying movie. I think that was Spielberg, I'm not too sure, I could be wrong. I know it's a child's film, but it's terrifying when you're a child if you watch it. Because they can smell children. And I was a child, I was innocent. But the model on the mistress is trying to give the impression that her skin is loose. And that's pretty disgusting, pretty awful, and pretty awesome for that kind of bad guy, because it's an aesthetic we've not really seen before. It must have been an absolute nightmare to rig, if you've ever done rigging in 3D. And for anyone who doesn't know what that is, rigging is the process of attributing influence to individual parts of your model. Individual vertices and how much influence they have on the surrounding area, so that when you move the biped or the something, whatever you're using to give your model movement, whenever you move it, it dictates how many of the vertices and polygons and parts of the model move with it and are influenced. And it sounds quite simple when you put it like that, but when you get deep down into it, Jesus Christ, you can lose days. Absolute days fine-tuning it, because it's very difficult. And if you've ever seen an animation on a game where someone's arm is bent funny, or it's folded in on itself or anything like that, that is to do with rigging. And that is an example of rigging that's not being done properly. And That's not to say that these people aren't good at their job or anything. That's just to say that perhaps they didn't anticipate that angle was going to be viewable, or they didn't check that angle in that particular situation, so they didn't realise that half his bicep, bent into a U shape. But that's all to do with rigging, and rigging is hard. I struggled with rigging big time. Because if anybody doesn't know, I did 3D in my degree, and I used a software called 3ds Max by Autodesk, which the games industry doesn't really use. They use Scaleform from Autodesk, and they probably use completely different software. Maya's very popular, there's a few other ones, but anybody who's done any 3D and ever tried to animate and rig anything complicated like a character will have utmost respect for the people that do it in these games, because they do such a good job. Which is why, all the people that were bitching about this game, about its animations not being great, like, sit down. Just sit down, because you don't know what you're on about. Like, until you've done it, you just can't say shit. Because, animating and rigging are difficult. They really are. And just look at this level. There's a little bit too much platforming in it for my liking, because I don't really play these games to platform, but Ninja Theory are known for it, and, it's an important part of their design document. But this is not really my kind of music, but I prefer this to that shitty wannabe metal stuff that's on the combat. I'd rather have this than that. And this is, techno-y, electric-y, I have no idea, drum and bass nonsense. But this is a Tyrant. The squares on the floor will damage you if you're not holding the element that the colour is. The one thing that helps you during these fights is there is a pattern to what colours happen. They generally alternate. This fight is more difficult though because they alternate from two directions. I don't think they did that before. Oh god, look at that bullshit there. You get the perfect evade and it still hits you. That is so frustrating. And I'm not doing a very good job in this fight, guys. So if that doesn't give you hope that you can beat it, I don't know what does, because it doesn't seem to be taking all that much skill right now. But this is like several situations we've already faced. We're exploiting the Tyrant to get damage boosts and get rid of him quickly so we can kill the stragglers. There's the Devil Trigger. Look, do you see that? It interrupted me. Bloody interrupted me. Oh, why? Priorities in animations, it's so frustrating. But I am curious to see what the sales are for this game, and I'm also curious to see what they do with the DLC. Because I hate when games announce DLC before they're out. I don't really like DLC. I like the concept of it, but it never works out. And the reason it never works out is it's never as good as the main game. One of the things that always baffles me too is, have you noticed that only the really big titles go up to 1700 gamerscore and have all the DLC that adds on to them? Why don't more games do that? Do you think it's because of the cost it takes to, to make the DLC, or the cost it makes to patch the DLC in? I don't really know. Because I would have loved Devilmaycry 4 to have gone above the 1,000, but they never do. And it doesn't make any sense. Like, I would have loved if the Devilmaycry High Definition collection, each of the games was a separate 1000G. Because then I'd have never touched Devilmaycry 2. But we get unlucky on the 360 with stuff like that, because the PS3 does. And I think that's very unfair, but, the PS3 pays for a lot of things. One of them being a lot of the games nowadays are designed on Unreal Engine, and the Unreal Engine does not play well on the PlayStation, because it's not designed for that software. And a lot of the performance problems that you see are literally because the game was ported to PlayStation rather than being developed for it, which is really sad, because games that are developed for the PlayStation are significantly more impressive than any other console game, because the system is that much more powerful. Which is why your Uncharted look amazing, and which is why a lot of people argue that Demon's Souls looks better than Dark Souls, even though I disagree. I think Demon's Souls looks so good, A, because it was optimised for the PlayStation, but B, because it's a significantly smaller game. But this is a Rage, and I'm going to cheese him with my stick him with the whirlwind thing and continue to throw them at him. These rooms can be dangerous, but I love the wallpaper. I love how it's luminous as well. I would literally have that in my bedroom, because I just think it's cool. I'm easily impressed as well when it comes to wallpaper. I tried to get the Ghostbusters when I was younger. I think I got the Turtles instead, and I was equally as impressed. But just look at this. You've got no other option than to hit those with the angel abilities, and the angel abilities just feel like feather dusters sometimes. But that is the end of the first sequence, so thank you for watching, guys, and you take care now.